Migrant, refugee, and human trafficking victims are just three of the many terms we use to describe people who are seeking new homes in other countries. These terms in particular have become critical topics in the media and political discourse, owing to large numbers of people fleeing countries in Africa and the Middle East for better and safer prospects normally in Europe, North America, or Asia. But is there a difference between migrants, refugees, and human trafficking victims? Does it matter?
Outside a detention center in
disturbing images of small children being of housing immigrant children.
How did the United States get here? Have grown in recent years to the point that now the country is at a tipping point.
The main difference is choice. Simplifying the concept of a migrant and a refugee, a migrant is someone who chooses freely to move, and a refugee is someone who has been forced from their home. Refugees, according to the Office of the High Commissioner for Refugees, or also called the UNHCR, are people who had fled from their countries after war or persecution and from whom denial of asylum has potentially deadly consequences. Refugees leave their home countries because it's dangerous for them to stay, or they are forced to leave for better opportunities. They often arrive without their personal belongings, sometimes without pre-planning, so they are normally sentenced to death. Migrants may move for any number of reasons. Some of them move to be with family or for economic reasons. Others move for education. Many of them return to their homelands after a few years or even months. They are often able to plan their own travel, organize themselves, and bring or sell their belongings for having enough cash to survive. But does this mean that all migrants are moving from good situations to better ones? Unfortunately, no. Many people migrate because their homes have become dangerous or difficult to live in. They might be fleeing from unrest, famine, drought, or economic collapse. But unless they're in conflict of danger or persecution, they aren't considered refugees.
We cut the amount of compensation for immigrants who voluntarily want to return home.
That distinction is an important one because an international convention in 1951 outlined certain rights for people deemed refugees, whereas migrants have no such rights. Refugees are protected from being deported or returned to situations that might threaten their lives. They are to be given access to social services and to be integrated into their new country's society. On the other hand, migrants are subjected to a country's immigration laws and procedures and can be returned away or deported back to their homeland. And how do these two terms differ from human trafficking victims? Well, it's simpler than it seems. Human trafficking victims, which are normally marginalized women and children, are the ones who, as a result of lack of economic opportunities, gender discrimination, political instability, unregulated labor, and other multiple factors, are lured with fake promises of having a better life. They are normally desperate to better their situation, so they end accepting and the human traffickers take them to expose them to an inhuman exploitation. It's important to mention that a human trafficking victim may be a refugee or a migrant, since they are entering into a completely new environment, so they aren't conscious about the danger they are exposed to. However, not all refugees and migrants are human trafficking victims.